What is buyer activity telling us about the current and future state of the housing market? We're here to break it down for you. All right, one of the challenges of getting a look at what is actually happening right now in the housing market is that most headlines and most stats are talking about something that already happened in the past. So for example, when you read a headline that prices are up or down or number of transactions are up or down, well, that took place the previous month, which meant that when under contract, usually the month before that, and buyers and sellers were starting that process a month or two before that. So you're getting a really lagging indicator of what's happening in the actual market. Well, one of the things that we can look at that best tells what's happening right now is buyer showings. How many buyers are going out to see each property? Well, you may find this interesting. From December to January, we had the greatest increase in buyer showings per listing in any one month in the history of tracking showings. Biggest increase. So the number of buyers who were looking in December to what was looking in January, humongous difference. Now, you haven't seen that trickle out into sales data and price data yet because those folks who looked in January, people usually look for 4 to 6 weeks, then the closing's 4 to 6 weeks. Well, a lot of those people that started their process in January have not closed yet, so that hasn't moved into, the sales price and the number of transactions. So those stats were national. Well, what about here in Atlanta? Because real estate is hyper-local. Well, in Atlanta, we also had, it was a 57% increase from December to January in number of showings, and that continued to go up in February. It's been a 77% increase from December to February in number of showings per listing. That is a humongous difference on the demand side. What about supply? Because in most basic terms, supply and demand determine what's going to happen to prices. Supply, the number of new listings that came on the market in February decreased. The number of new listings that came on the market in Atlanta in February decreased from January, and folks, that is not the norm. That usually does not happen. Usually every year from January on up through the spring and summer, we see an increase in number of listings. That's why people are like, hey, the spring selling season, inventory is coming. That was not the case in February. So buyer demand up 77%. Seller supply down when it usually goes up. What do you guys think you're going to see for future pricing headlines? Once that demand and supply that came together in February, those buyers and sellers met up at prices. That's why we've been seeing the last 3 or 4 weeks, lots of multiple offers, things starting to go well above asking price again. And these prices, people are asking, generally speaking, prices that are based in line with the comps. People are not asking discounted prices. They're not asking crazy, hope for the best possible ever prices. They're asking fair prices. And those fair priced, really good houses, a lot of them are getting bid up, but you're not going to see that in the headlines because the houses that got bid up this week, they're going to close at the end of April or May. That data is not going to come out and get written about until June or July. But what I'm telling you right now is buyer demand is up, seller supply is down, and that's putting upward pressure on prices here in Atlanta. Now, if you want to talk about your specific situation, the supply or demand side of the equation that you're on, we would love to help you. Reach out like so many of you do. And for everybody else, we'll continue to keep you updated next week.